it's Ash, your truth-bombing fairy godmother for everything love, dating, and relationships. Today we're going to be talking about dating apps and how they have drastically impacted our ability to find meaningful, successful romantic relationships. We're also going to be talking about that initial spark or that romantic attraction or excitement you feel towards someone when you first meet them, and specifically how that feeling relates to and intertwines with the whole dating app experience, and sadly why I think it makes the whole process all the more unsuccessful. And of course, what I think you should do about it if you are someone who's single and trying to navigate the big wild world of dating apps and aren't having a lot of success. What I think you can do about that to improve your chances of forming a meaningful romantic relationship with someone. But first, just a reminder to please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every single week about love, relationships, dating, different predicaments like the one we're going to be talking about today. So if you are into that type of thing, please stick around. I was having a conversation with a girlfriend at work actually just this week, and that's what really inspired today's topic. She's been single for quite a few years now, and as long as I've known her, so it's been about 2 or so years, she has relied primarily on dating apps, things like Tinder and Bumble, to find potential romantic partners for herself. And speaking to her has just been so interesting for me because my fiance and I have been together for about 7.5 years now. So back when I was still single, dating apps were just not commonplace like they are today. Tinder wasn't a thing. Bumble, I don't think, was a thing either. So it's just such uncharted territory for me. So hearing about other people's experiences with dating apps and navigating that whole world is just so fascinating for me. And it's especially fascinating because it's very clearly had such a profound impact on dating as we know it. It just seems to be extra bloody hard for people to find not even necessarily decent people, but just to find people that they really hit it off with through dating apps. There's likely a huge myriad of reasons for this. I'm sure there's been all kinds of research conducted with this and the reasons for why dating apps have kind of tainted dating in that sense. But one of the reasons that I find especially interesting and is relevant to the conversation that I was having with my girlfriend at work this week was how heavily dating apps rely on initial spark. I hate the word spark. I'm gonna keep using air quotes around it because I really do think it is such a nonsense, meaningless buzzword that has somehow embedded itself so deeply into our minds in terms of defining how we feel about other people. Other people, of course, being potential romantic matches. And the reason why I find it just so bloody stupid is because that initial spark feeling is actually not even remotely a good indicator for relationship success. But despite this, we've come to identify and rely on that feeling, that spark, that buzz of excitement. We've come to rely on that as the kind of be-all and end-all on whether or not we're going to pursue someone romantically. It's kind of a red light or green light. You either are going to go for it or you don't, and it's entirely dependent on this unknown, not very tangible, buzzwordy kind of sensation. For a lot of people, myself included, romantic chemistry and attraction can actually be something that is cultivated and grown over a period of time through actually getting to know someone and getting to understand them more deeply and more intimately. Dating apps completely eliminate this opportunity. They don't allow for that kind of slow, natural burn of getting to know someone over a longer period of time and getting to know all the intricate facets of what makes them them. Dating apps are more like a fast food service. Either an interaction with a match or specifically a first date gives you that instant gratification, or they're out, which really sadly eliminates a huge pool of potential partners just like that. That being said, I absolutely and simultaneously recognize that initial attraction or romantic chemistry and spark is really all you have to go by when it comes to meeting someone for the first time that you've maybe been chatting to a bit through an app. And this is exactly what I was discussing with my friend from work. I mean, she'll tell me over and over again that she'll go on a date with a guy, they'll have a good time, they'll have good conversation, a lot of the boxes will actually be ticked for her, but that she won't necessarily feel that spark. So what is she meant to do? She meant to just keep going on dates with that person until romantic sparks and excitement may or may not eventually show up. I recognize that doing so is kind of unnatural and would probably be a little bit awkward. So unfortunately, that instant spark gratification type of feeling that dating apps has cultivated is really all people have. If you don't have that instantaneous, I feel something here and I can kind of see myself fucking you as well, feeling, you're likely not going to see that person again. That first date's probably going to be the last time you ever see them. Despite having a really solid foundation of good conversation, comfortable interaction, maybe if you're lucky, even some clearly aligned core values, all of those things are going to be seen as secondary to most people, secondary to that spark feeling. Therefore, none of it's going to matter if you don't also see yourself fucking them. Back in my day, when you more commonly got to know people through more natural, innate environments, those more innate environments invited the opportunity to get to know people more gradually and not necessarily judge them based on whether or not you felt an instant spark with them or not. You generally just, without even thinking about it, things would just unfold before you, and before you knew it, you'd have gotten to know someone in a really, really deep, meaningful way that allowed them to become much more attractive to you over time. For instance, in my situation, Luke and I met when I was backpacking throughout Victoria in Australia, and we were very much just friends, and for the next 10 or so months of us knowing each other, we cultivated such a solid, wonderful friendship, and I was kind of adopted into his friendship group, and therefore that natural unfolding of getting to know someone in a really, really organic way was how it worked for us. And through that experience, despite not having any romantic connection at the start, that was very much cultivated as we got to know each other more deeply. Some of the most profound, loving, healthy, wonderful relationships that I've been surrounded by in my lifetime have been formed without that initial spark romantic attraction. Now, disclaimer, if you felt that with your partner, fantastic. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's a nice to have. It's absolutely not a requirement. Now, I think about how different my life would be now if Luke and I had met on a dating app. I mean, say we went on that first date together, we likely would have had really, really fun, great, playful conversation and got along really well and would have had a good time. But as for that romantic spark, I mean, that obviously wouldn't have been there on that first date. Therefore, that first interaction probably would have been the first and the last time that we saw each other. After all, I mean, the entire intention of apps like Tinder and Bumble is to form romantic connections with someone, not necessarily to make friends and then just see what happens. I really can't imagine having hung out with Luke that first time and saying, hey, you know what? I had a really great time and this was heaps of fun, but let's just go on some more friendship dates and just roll the dice. I mean, no. I mean, that's awkward. I just can't foresee something like that happening. And I mean, especially as we get older, right? I mean, we generally have somewhat established friendship groups. Imagine just inviting some random guy that you've friend zoned, that you've met through a dating app, into your interactions in your inner world and your social groups. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't sound like an overly realistic or practical situation. Whereas if you're periodically interacting with someone in more, I guess, organic settings where you see each other at, let's say at the gym, you see each other at the gym or parks or clubs that you're a part of, or you just happen to have mutual friends or whatever, when you're presented opportunities to kind of periodically see someone in such a natural, no pressure way, it allows you to see all these different, interesting, attractive qualities that you may not have seen in that person in your very first time hanging out with them. It allows people the opportunity to grow on you, which happens all the time. Tinder doesn't really offer that. Bumble doesn't really offer that. If you meet someone once and you're not instantly romantically into them, you can't see yourself fucking them or any variation of that, you're likely not going to keep communicating with them, and therefore things will very quickly fizzle out before they've even had a chance to begin. So all this is super interesting, of course, but what are we actually meant to do about it? I understand that advising someone to keep having friendship dates with someone in the hopes that romantic feelings may or may not eventually appear is not overly applicable advice. But despite that, I still think understanding that spark feeling is not a requirement for pursuing a romantic relationship with someone at some point down the track is really, really healthy and good to just know and understand. It is not in any way, shape, or form a predictor of successful romantic relationships. Although it is a fun feeling, no doubt about that, it is not a requirement. Romantic connection or sexual chemistry or whatever you want to call it can and does form over a much longer period of time of getting to know someone. It does not at all have to be this instant spark feeling. So in this case, what I would advise is simply not to only rely on dating apps. Plain and simple. Easier said than done in today's climate, I get that. But relying almost entirely on dating apps to find potential partners is it's just not healthy. I mean, too much of anything is just not a good thing, right? And it certainly doesn't allow you the wide variety of ways that you can form a relationship with someone. It's a very one avenue kind of path. It's that instant gratification that I spoke about earlier. Either they get that instant check of sparks and fireworks and whatever, or they're out. And for me, that's just eliminating such a awesome pool of people that you could form something so incredible with, because they maybe don't evoke those kinds of feelings within you straight away. Dating apps work for plenty of people. I'm not at all objecting or negating that fact. One of my dearest couple friends met on Tinder, and I do meet people who are in successful relationships with people that they have met through dating apps, and that's great. So of course, keep on swiping. Swipe as much as your little heart desires. Success stories do happen, but there is absolutely no reason to completely neglect more natural, real life, face-to-face ways of meeting a potential partner. Yeah, unfortunately, I see this all the time. I feel like stories about people meeting in real life are becoming less and less common, and a lot of my friends who are single, nearly every date that they go on is with people that they meet through dating apps. Find new hobbies, clubs, activities, sports, get outside and take a class of some sort. Immerse yourself in situations where, in addition to swiping those little thumbs raw, you are also giving yourself chances and opportunities to meet people in other ways. This way, in addition to seeking those instant gratification feelings of sparks and butterflies and whatever, you know how I feel about it. But in addition to seeking that feeling, you also aren't eliminating a huge pool of people that could be really great for you, but that maybe those warm and fuzzy, sparky feelings take a little bit longer to show up. Nothing wrong with dating apps, like I said, but you know what they say, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Don't rely only on apps. Mix it up. Take a chance. Take a risk. Get out there in that big bad world. You never know who you're gonna meet, and variety well and truly is the spice of fucking life. Alrighty guys, thanks so much again for watching today's video. Once again, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and of course subscribe to my channel. New videos every single week about love, dating, relationships, sex, all that good fun stuff. If that's your thing, then stick around because there's plenty more where that came from. Until next time, see you guys.